Hey everyone, and welcome to Emplifi's Social Media Manager Spotlight series, where we introduce you to the real people behind some of your favorite brands. We're going to talk about everything from social strategy to content wins, digital trends, and everything far in between there. And yeah, so let's hop right into it. I have Christy from Flight Center Travel here with us today, and she's a social media manager. Let's jump right into it, Christy. Christy, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Let's start from when you even thought social was kind of something for you. Let's go back into
Yeah.
back and far. When was what was it that really draw you to social?
So we honestly don't have to go too far back. I've
Okay.
only been in social media marketing for the last 4 years.
Okay.
For me, it's the community piece.
Okay.
The positivity and the engagement that you can have with complete strangers.
Yeah.
So having that brand awareness, obviously from a brand standpoint, we are all about having that positive experience, positive engagement, positive customer service. But just being on social media, it just opens up the world to any sort of possibility.
Yeah.
So I think that's just what appeals. And also the creativity. Something like social media, it's not a set it and forget it.
No.
It keeps you on your toes. It's
Yes.
not just about what we want to do.
Yeah.
It's the platform changes. It's the new platforms. It's the trends. It's what's topical at the moment. So it's just... there's never a dull moment with social media, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a very engaging place to be.
100%. And I think as a social media manager, you got to be adaptable. If social is something you're going to go into, you need to understand that you could wake up one morning and something could be completely gone. So how are you going to shift your strategy? So it's cool. So you must like the life of things changing, you must love that life and flying and traveling and stuff like that, because that's a lot of adaptability too. You never know where you're going to go. Okay. So where were you before social? Were you in a different marketing? Were you in a different space?
No, I was in a completely different career.
Cool.
So I actually transitioned over from finance and payroll.
Interesting. So completely different life.
And I think that's what gives me this weird advantage, because in the finance world, you have deadlines, and those are hard deadlines. You have deliverables, you have very clear guidelines and regulations you need to meet, very analytical, very numbers driven. So to marry that with the creative marketing social media space, I feel like I get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because I already have those time management skill set that you do need. I find in the social world that yes, you do need to be adaptable and flexible, but if you don't have a solid foundation, then that goes out the window the second you have to pivot or shift. If you haven't laid a solid groundwork or solid foundation, you're just going to be very stressed about the pivoting and the shifting. And so that's what I find works for me is laying the groundwork in, having processes and procedures, so that if something does change that we're not aware of, whether it be something out of our control or shifting trends or whatnot, then we're able to pivot and do that way more easily if you didn't have processes and procedures in place.
100%. And, maybe that's why a lot of social media managers do struggle, is because they think it's just this fun, creative environment where things are changing every day. But like you said, you need to lay that foundation before you get started, because that's how pivoting is going to be easier. And you're making your life much more simple. But it's good that you have that background. So it's really brought you into brought you into this role and brought you there even better, which is great. Okay. What does your day-to-day as a social media manager look like? What's your typical morning? Are you a reactive type of person, or do you plan your content weeks ahead?
So in the content space, obviously what we're pushing out onto our platforms, that's typically planned out ahead. The actual deliverables and getting those ready are done closer to the scheduling and publishing time, but we typically plan out our strategy ahead. So what I'm actually working on day to day, first thing every morning, as boring as it sounds, it's about the emails, it's about the Teams chats. whilst I work for Flight Centre Canada, we're part of a global company. So
Okay.
the Flight Centre Travel Group, which actually was founded in Australia back in the 80s.
Wow.
So we feed up into a global space. So
Okay.
people are working when we're not working.
Oh
so
my
you
gosh.
just don't know what could have come in overnight or whatnot. So as boring as it sounds, I start my day looking at my emails and my Teams chats.
Yeah.
And then I'm straight into community engagement. So
Okay.
as somebody who's not only doing the strategy and execution for the social media space, I'm also responsible for the engagement piece and our reviews. So again, I want to see what's come in overnight. So usually first thing, kind of try to clear that through, and then a few times throughout the day, kind of checking in on it again. So every day is about community engagement and reviews.
Yeah.
And then the day just depends. Like, it's not, whilst I'm working on the same things throughout the days, weeks, months, what I actually do on a day-to-day can vary.
Yeah.
But it's anywhere from that ideation, that strategy,
Yes.
project managing to make sure that the deliverables are getting done in time, the analysis, the reporting, looking to see where we can improve, those random one-off projects. So as part of a marketing team, it's not just about organic social media, it's how do you fit into that bigger marketing space then to feed into the bigger company itself. So there might be some random one-off projects that are being worked on. So everything's kind of concurrently happening and you're kind of at different stages in the process depending on any day or week.
Yes.
So for me, I'm a big time blocker. I use my Outlook calendar
that.
to time block every day. So it's almost like my to-do list.
Okay.
So that just helps keep me on track and make sure I get the deliverables done.
Yeah. Okay. So tip for you social media managers is time block, because I feel like, that can be tough, because especially when, community stuff's happening all day, you want to be checking that all day, but you set time apart in certain parts of your day where you check it and you make sure it's done. But like, you're not, going from that task to another task to another task, because that's kind of what social can be. There's so much going on that if you're not organizing your day to day, it's going to give you a headache.
For sure. And if you're jumping around, it takes you a little bit to get into each task.
100%.
Exit out of that task. So if you don't know what your day is going to look like, obviously there has to be that flexibility like you talked about for the things that you don't know that are going to come up. But if you plan your day, it's easier for you to jump in and jump out of things versus, I've got that little envelope of an email in the corner of my screen. I should go check my email.
Yeah.
So like trying to not be reactive in that way, I think just helps set you up for success, because there's only so many hours in the day and there's a lot of work that needs to get done.
100%. And I need to take a page out of your book, because I need to be better at that. 100%. Okay. So what is your team's or just your, go-to planning process when it comes to campaigns?
So our campaigns, we have what's typical, like your retail campaign.
Yeah.
So being in the travel space, that means like what destination or what area are we focusing on from a sales standpoint. So that's the retail campaign. And then we have like the brand campaign. So that's more overarching, like what awareness do we want to bring? Like, so for us as a travel company, what sets us apart in the booking space is we still have brick and mortar stores.
Okay.
We have travel experts. So that's one of our outliers in this day and age versus where you just go to a website and you just book. And if you need customer support, you have to go through that process. We have the people in the stores and on the phones and whatnot. So the brand campaigns is another piece. And then so for social, we need to weave those things into social. But then we also have always on content. So that's us shining a spotlight on certain things every month. So we need to figure out how to keep that fresh and not just constantly be repeating ourselves. The irony is we also know that not everyone sees every piece of content. We do. So it's like, how much do you need to reinvent the wheel every month? So there's those pieces. And then once the dust settles on that, it's like, well, what space do we have left to focus on the educational, the inspirational, the engaging stuff? Like, we know people go to social to be entertained. They want to find that shareable content they can send to a friend or be inspired by something or whatnot. So that's kind of what we want to weave in as well, and just be mindful of the brand messaging and the brand goals in the bigger space and how we tie them into our social media goals, because they need to be in alignment, but they're not 100% identical goals.
Yes, 100%. And like, it sounds like you guys have a lot of campaigns running at once for like different buckets. Where do you get involved in this campaign? Are you as a social media manager, are you involved like from the start of the brief, or do you get kind of looped in near the end when it's like you got 2 or 3 weeks to start thinking about creative ideas for content?
So our marketing team as a whole is briefed in all together at the same time.
I love that.
So we have an overarching calendar for the whole year, very high level, but it's basically this time of year, this is what we're going to focus on.
Yeah.
Subject to change, as everything is, but it gives you a general sense of, okay, at each point of the year, this is what we're going to be focusing on. And we all come in at the brief stage.
Okay.
Obviously, there's parts of our team that are working on the brief, so they're coming in slightly earlier, but we're coming in at the brief stage and we're going from there. In relation to our organic social, unless there's a need to do it sooner, my methodology is basically the beginning to middle of the previous month is when I'm mapping out the next month.
Wow.
And again, that's because you don't want to do it too far in advance because things change, trends change, what's topical changes.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to leave it at the last minute, because it's not just myself involved. There's other team members that come in to also support getting those assets created to then push it out onto our social channels. So it's not a one-man team.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you're working with your team on all of this, because you do see a lot of people where they're like, as a social media manager, I'll get looped in like near the very end, and then I have to create content in like a week or two, and I don't have a lot of creative freedom there. So I think that's awesome. Like, sounds like you're a good team player, which is great. So yeah, that's awesome. What metrics do you actually care about? You know, like obviously there's metrics that like some of the higher people care about, but what metrics as a social media manager do you care about?
I'm not going to lie, as much as I don't want to care about it. The follower growth is a number.
Yes.
It's the most obvious and most visible one that anyone can see, is the follower growth. But when you take a step back, what matters and ties into that is when your following is growing, is your engagement growing with it as well? So you don't want to have your engagement peter off, because it means you're getting newer followers who aren't interested in what you're actually sharing or engaging with you. So it's the follower growth concurrently with the engagement growth, and then also reach. Like, reach is so important to like, is our content actually going out to the masses, and not just the people already following us, but our newer audiences and possibilities.
Yeah.
And then so reach, growth,
engagement,
shareable content. Sorry.
Yes.
So that's a big one, is creating content that people share, because sharing is what increases reach. And it means that we're creating stuff that people actually want to push out to their network as well. So shareability is a big one. And we also know, when you tune into like what Meta's saying about what matters and whatnot, that shareability, or that share, is definitely important. So the more we can produce shareable content, the better it's going to be for our reach, which increases our brand awareness and growth. And they're all kind of interconnected.
100%.
But I would say those are the key ones.
You know, and for a company like your company, sharing content is probably huge, because I would, you know, send something to my boyfriend being like, hey, I want to go here. Look at this deal. You know, like things like that, or look at this like new group that's happening at this spot. Like, people are going to be sharing your content if it's valuable content, which is what you guys are putting out there. And that shows, like, my boyfriend might not follow your company, but he will now because I want to go on a trip there or something, you know? So I think that sharing, I haven't really heard that a lot. So that's awesome. It makes sense for like, you know, your brand. Thank you. What's one thing people don't realize about running a social?
I would say that it's not something that you can do off the side of your desk. I think there's some misperceptions that it's either a part-time role, or it can be done by somebody doing 5 other things. Social media is, again, it depends on how important it is to your company and how big your company is. But social media is a function and an asset in and of itself. And you do need somebody managing that function. So it's not just scrolling feeds day in, day out, like looking for content, commenting, whatnot. Like, yes, you do some of that to get inspiration and to see what your competitors are doing or what's happening in the industry, or even just trends that you can repurpose into something relevant to your brand. So there is that kind of scrollability factor. But I think the big misconception is that, it can be done to the side of your desk, or that it's a part-time role, or that somebody can do it and do it all. Like for me, yes, I am the social media manager, but I'm not writing every piece of content. I'm not designing every asset. Like I rely on other members of my team with those skill sets. I do a bit of that, but like it's a collaborative effort. One person can't be the email specialist, the social media specialist, the blogger. It's just not possible.
Yeah, no, that's how social media managers end up burning out, right? Is they're just like, I'm doing 6 jobs in once. Like, this is too much. I heard someone say, and I thought this was really interesting, but they said that people think of social media managers as something that's easy because when they're posting their own social media, it's easy. I'm showing and highlighting that I just went to Hawaii, or, that I'm in Mexico, but it's different when it's for a different brand, right? Like I'm showcasing this brand. It's not me. It's not my voice. It's the brand's voice, and I have to sell it. I have to, show value. There's a million other things to think about. And I think that's why you hear a lot of the time people are saying it's a part-time job, or is this something you can do on the side? It's like, no, actually, just because you posted your picture in Hawaii doesn't mean it's that easy, So I think I love that answer. Okay. What content format is working the best for you and your team right now? So like videos, reels, carousels, Facebook Lives, things like that.
Yep. So we've definitely gotten to a point where we can really hone in on the individual platforms and what works on those. So that's a big thing, is if you're showing up in a bunch of different platforms, not everything works for each, especially if you've got a different demographic and whatnot. So we are finding in Instagram, it is more of the reels and the carousels, things that can keep the audience on your feed long enough to tell the algorithm to push it out. So that's definitely what resonates there. Also for Facebook, we tend to do more static, less of the video, because historically video hasn't performed so well.
Okay.
But from an actual, not necessarily format, but type of content, we find that when we have our people, our travel experts show up in our content, that's what really resonates. Again, like I said, it's what sets us apart, having that brick and mortar travel
100%.
expert presence. So when we have regular content that we've tapped into that we know works, so that's when we feature our travel experts taking their own travels, our reviews as social proof, sharing our teams and our stores where they're featured, what they specialize in. That stuff really, really resonates. So we've continued to try to do more of that. And then another piece of content, and this is static, is travel questions. So every week we post to both Facebook and Instagram a travel question.
I love that.
Things like, if you could hop on a plane tomorrow, where would you go?
Perfect. And it's shareable content right there.
Logistics aside, let's not think about the fact that it's not realistic and like it would take work. It's just like giving people the opportunity to daydream, inspire,
100%.
engage. So there's definitely types of content that we know resonates really well. And usually if we try to make it more flashy, it kind of becomes distracting. So some of like those travel questions I talked about, it's literally text on a background and that works. It doesn't need to be this beautiful thing with beautiful imagery. It's just about the question you're asking. So that content for sure. And then for Instagram, tapping into some of those trending topical pieces of content. I do actually try to go to TikTok and see what's trending there first, because if you can be kind of like that early adopter in Instagram, because things do tend to show up in TikTok before they show up in Instagram. So try to be a little bit of an earlier adopter in translating that so that it resonates with our brand but is also going to hit the mark on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kinds of things.
So it sounds like humanizing is like really big for you, because like you're using almost your travel agents as like your influencers or your employee influencers. And I think people can feel that through a screen too and feel the real emotion and stuff. So no, that's awesome. That's great. Lots of content to be used. And you know what? I think questions are actually really smart. I don't do a lot of questions, so watch out. Emplifi might be doing some more questions. Where do you get creative inspiration from? You mentioned TikTok, but like, is it like in your day-to-day, in your personal feed? Like, where are you getting your inspiration for content or assets that you're putting out on your social?
Honestly, it's a lot of places. I feel like it's very hard for me to like switch off the thinking and the creativity.
Yes.
But TikTok is definitely one of them, just because it's such a popular platform. For us, TikTok, we do on a global capacity, so we're not managing it at each region level. So I'm not involved necessarily in the day-to-day execution for our channel, but I am using TikTok as a resource to see what's trending or what are people posting about, what are people interested in. Same with Instagram. It's like, what are people posting? What are people interested in? What are other people in the travel space doing? In my personal space as well on social media, I'm also looking at like what brands are doing and whatnot, because how I follow on social media as a user versus an executor is completely different. So it gives me a bit of a broader sense of things. And then just honestly, like looking on the internet, just different things like that. It's literally anywhere is inspiration. You never know. Like if something pops in my head, and I'm not working, I'll like send myself a note about it or an email or Teams it to myself because I don't want to like miss that idea. And then it's just internally, like as a company, like and as part of a marketing team, some of those ideas may come from internal suggestions or internal considerations or seeing what other departments are doing or whatnot. So it's kind of like a marriage of that. And like I said, because we do have a lot of always on content as well, that kind of hones in on like I'm thinking about those topics and what kind of makes sense to weave into those as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're never off. You're constantly thinking about how can I be creative within like the brand that I'm showcasing, which is hilarious because I actually don't think social media managers are ever off. Like I could look at something right now and be like, oh my gosh, that would be so good for content to do at work or for this. And it's like, I feel like sometimes people get to shut off. Some people in careers get to shut off, but we're creative and we're thinking about, our job every day, all day long, which is,
and I think that's just because I do have that personal presence as well. It's just, it's hard to like have that downtime and not like translate it into the workplace too. So it's about striking a balance.
100%. And that leads perfectly into this. How do you balance brand voice versus trend participation?
Yeah. So the big thing is not hopping on every trend.
Yes.
So I think you can see when there are those instances are happening because your feed is flooded by that. So for us, there's a few things that we know are going to trend. And that's just things like Super Bowl, Oscars, Grammys, the Met Gala. So there's things that happen every year that are going to trend in some way. So it's almost like you leave a placeholder for them and then you see what happens at the time and you're like, is this relevant or do we just skip it for this year? So those things are kind of like an always on approach because they happen every year, regardless. And then the trends itself, it's just the relevancy. Like, it's not like you can actually turn every trend into something relevant for the travel industry. And the same with product and whatnot. So it's really like spending not a lot of time, because obviously time is precious and it needs to fit into your strategy and your schedule. But like, can you come up with a concept pretty quickly and plug something in based on a trend? And that's why I said like, going to TikTok and seeing what's trending there and trying to be an early adopter in Instagram, I think helps in that way because you're not as under the crunch and like time pressure in that sense. But I think also how we do our strategy is we kind of bake in that flexibility for trends and topical stuff. So kind of almost when we get to the point where we need a piece of that content, we can go and see what's out there.
And trend participation is hard too, because it's like, if you're not on that trend, like for the Oscars, like it's smart that you guys have these placeholders. But if you're not on that, like 1 week later, it's not funny anymore. So like move on. And there's lots of brands who are still posting it like 3 weeks after. And kudos to them for getting on it. But it's like, sometimes it's like, if you miss the bus, you miss the bus. So it's good that you guys have these, no matter what the Oscars is happening, no matter what the Super Bowl is happening. But yeah, it's hard to find what you're going to actually participate in and what you have to pass on that doesn't match your brand. But I love it. That's awesome. Some good keynotes to take. Next question. How do you use social? I think you've answered this a bit in your things, but how do you use social to support broader business and retail goals or travel goals?
So that's where we have, like I said, that always on content.
Yes.
So we have some specialist areas that don't necessarily get that walk-in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So we have cruise experts and we have group travel specialists. So they're the ones booking those big destination weddings and family reunions and whatnot. And they may not be the most obvious things necessarily. So we do our best to support those parts of the business as always on content.
Yeah.
So that's those non-negotiables that we always have slotted in, part of our framework before we start filling up the rest of the calendar. And also, like I said, we are aware of the retail campaign and the brand campaigns in advance. So again, plugging those into our social media calendar. But again, it's about doing it in a way that's not overly the top salesy, because organic social is different to paid. Paid, we're putting money, we're targeting. It's a particular purpose that is about the leads and the inquiries and whatnot. Organic social, that's more of a positive kind of offshoot of what we're doing. Our main focus is the brand awareness and driving people to our website. So we want to bring in the retail campaigns and the brand campaigns in a way that somebody is inspired to want to go to our website or inquire about something and whatnot. So it's really about doing those things in a really inspiring, educational, entertaining, still having those CTAs and sales points, but not having someone come to our feed and think they've just hit a paid ad,
a newspaper
space or something like that. Yeah,
that makes sense. Pivoting into paid ads, I'm curious, what do you sometimes use your paid ads and then add some organic to the paid ad and then make that an organic ad?
We have some similarities, but we do try to have kind of that clear kind of definition between the two, because like I said, we don't want people to come to our feed or come across something that's organic and mistake it for a paid ad and swipe straight past. So there are some similarities and there are some common elements, but we try not to just replicate a paid ad in the organic space as much as we can, just to keep that difference and have that organic feel about things versus, like I said, hitting a paid or a sponsored. On the flip side though, we do amplify our organic social. So putting some budget behind things that are organically trending well by themselves just to give it an extra boost. So we do that.
And that helps a lot too, because it's like sometimes you just need that extra push, right? That'll just get it onto the right page at the right time. Yeah, I like separating organic, the humanized content and the fun stuff, the questions against the Boxing Day sale, 40% off or something like that. You're targeting some different people here, so let's make sure we're making that right. I love that.
And that's the thing with organic social is you can't target it out to specific people.
The people who are coming to your page, right? Or follow you.
It doesn't mean we don't have the 40% offs and the whatnot, but we try to do it in a more organic feeling way than a paid, what a paid ad looks like.
100%. Yeah. Okay. What is a tool, habit, or workflow that saves your sanity? So a piece of tech stack you couldn't live without. How do you organize your content calendar? You block time, I know that. But what are some ways that, something that you couldn't live without?
So we have a project management system.
Nice.
So that, and again, because we're a global company, everybody's in that.
That's crazy.
You actually have insight into what other regions are doing.
Okay.
The benefit to that is if you see something really great on another region's channel, you can very easily replicate
Oh,
that
I like
or
it.
clone that onto your
Okay.
channel. So it just gives us that greater insight into what everyone's doing. But it's the project management piece. Like I said, you can't set it and forget it with social,
No.
but you can do that a bit with your processes. So setting up all the work backs, and then you get to rely on both your Outlook calendar, like I said, for time blocking, but the project management system. It's got everything you need to achieve in that month, when it's due, who's doing what. It houses all of our approval systems, so we can tag each other in to review things and approve things. It houses historical stuff. So if you're like, I really liked what we did a year ago, it performed really well, you can kind of draw from that to kind of bring it into the future, set it up as a new task and things like that. So I would say having a project management system is massive. And then again, for a company of our side, we do have a scheduling platform as well. So being able to schedule content in advance, and also bringing all of our engagement into that platform as well is just a godsend.
Huge. Yeah. It saves you all this like time that, adding into your block calendar, something to do with like creating the KPIs or, getting those KPIs or, I have to schedule this into someone's calendar because they haven't done this task, and that thing will do it all for you, right? So it saves you time, which is amazing. So thank you to those solutions that help us. What trend are you excited for in 2025, or are you like totally over and you're seeing it on like some of your competitors, or just like when you're scrolling your own personal feed?
I think sometimes it is just seeing when people are hopping on trends when they're not resonating. Where, like we talked about, trends aren't don't have to be used by all brands every time. So I think sometimes it's the relevancy of trends, like knowing when to pick and choose them. I think it's more just not having consistency in platforms, like things just being a ever moving marker of where things are at. Like you have to, like I said, you have to keep up to date on what the platforms are doing and whatnot, and that's hard. Like it's tough to keep on top of the changes in platforms, new platforms, all of those things. So it would be nice if the leaders of those platforms actually
TikTok.
like listen to what people want. I still don't understand why Instagram doesn't have links in their captions.
Like you hear us, Instagram, listen.
So things like that where and just I think platforms trying to be everything to everyone. So it's like suddenly TikTok gets a new feature and Instagram has to replicate it. Or just when you think back a handful of years, Instagram was a photo first platform. So it's just things where it's like, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
100%.
And I think that's the biggest challenge, is keeping up with what's trending in the platform itself space, not actual trends themselves.
I like that because then you have to like navigate, like, okay, now all of a sudden reels are huge on Instagram. I was doing pictures, but now I got TikTok was for the videos, but now I got to do Instagram because Instagram is so much like TikTok. So it's like, that's tough. And like, we've had enough. You know what, 2025, let's keep the tools as is, and let's just make sure that is what it is.
Well, I literally read this morning that Google is now indexing Instagram.
Oh, wow.
So basically, you need to have Instagram very SEO driven so that you can show up in Google searches now.
What?
So it was literally this morning I read this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'll talk to my team about that later. What is one thing you wish more people understood about running paid social? You don't run paid social, do you?
I don't run paid social, but I am responsible for all the engagement on paid social.
Okay. Wow.
So it feeds into our community engagement. So every time someone comments on our paid social, that's me seeing
you.
that.
Okay.
So I think people for paid social, I think the big thing is people don't like read everything they're seeing, or they may not realize they can click through to a website for more information. So I think it's more like just the visibility of, like, if you see a paid ad, like there are usually typically more details you can find. 100%. So it's not just like this is all you're going to learn. It's like you can click through, you can learn more, you can ask questions, all of those things.
That's interesting. So like if there's like a paid ad where it's like this deal is happening right now for this trip and like maybe you guys haven't seen that now like that deal is over or something like that and you forgot to take it off, like consumers aren't giving like a little bit of like help to that being like, oh, we get it. Social's running 24/7. Like clearly it's done now.
Yeah, just I think in general terms for social is just coming at it with a bit of grace and compassion and there are humans behind
100%,
these accounts. So I think just remembering those things and just know that like companies are doing like the best they can in the sense of promoting what they're promoting and whatnot. But it's social media is 24/7, but companies aren't running 24/7 in that way.
The social media manager brains are, but let us shut off for a second, okay? Yeah. What's a recent win you've had in social that made you proud?
A recent win. Oh.
It could be with your team. It could be with, something that you guys had like posted or maybe a campaign that went really well.
I mean, I think it's more just, it's not a recent thing, but for us, like I said, that humanizing element.
Yeah.
Like there's just things we've come to realize through doing it trial and error, and also just analytics and whatnot. We've come to really see that human element is so relevant, especially to a brand like ours, and like it's what people want to see. So every time we're able to kind of tap into that and really show that part of the company, I think that's what makes it really proud in that sense.
That's awesome.
Try not to get too like hung up on the metrics and the weeds of things, because honestly sometimes I think a piece of content is phenomenal and it doesn't do well. And then other times it's that almost quick and dirty trend piece that you weaved in that resonates. So I think it's when you hit the mark and you produce content that does resonate, that just makes you feel good. And that's kind of like an always on thing. It's not just a moment of virality or anything like that. It's just constantly being able to produce content that resonates and then trying to tap into kind of the secret sauce of that and produce more of it. I think that's really what matters.
I feel like it's hard as a social media manager to be proud of something because it's like almost like you don't get like there's no money value behind it, right? It's not like it's sales where like you close a deal and you made some money. It's like social media is different where it continues to grow. So it's like you'll have like a campaign go out and it'll just continue to grow and continue and grow. So there's not like a moment where you can be like, I'm proud. It's like, I'm proud, like it just continues, which is it's awesome. So I honestly love that you guys are focusing on humanizing your brand because I love seeing real people do real stuff. So that's great.
And I enjoy it too. Like I'm the one like orchestrating it in a way of like coordinating and whatnot, but when I get to read out people's stories and see their travel photos, I'm like, I love it.
Love it. So it's like if you're loving it, then like you gotta know real humans are also loving it, right? Which is awesome. Okay, this one's kind of a fun one. Describe your job to your grandparents.
That one's tough because social media is like it posts dates, anything grandparents would have been access to. And honestly, in my world, my grandparents didn't see social media as a thing. So I
know it's tough.
I know. I just like, if you want to be silly about it, it's like I post photos and videos for people to like.
I know. And then you show them the Instagram and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah. But like at the core, it's about creating, I guess, materials. Like it's almost like an entertainment. Like we are trying to entertain an audience.
Yeah, that's good.
To want to be a part of our brand's community, I guess.
I love that. I think I'm probably going to steal that one.
Yeah, I think if you just ignore the fundamentals and the actualities, I think it's, we're just creating entertainment material, hoping people like it so they'll want to be a part of our brand's community and book their travel with us, basically. That's my job.
That's perfect. It's like you highlight the whole fact that it's entertainment, and then hopefully the CTA is like they're booking travel with us, which is funny. Yeah, I actually chat GPT'd, how do I describe like social media manager to grandma? Because it's like, my grandma was like, what's social media? You know, like, what do you mean? That's what you do? It's like, huh? So I think that's interesting. Do you guys have like a post that went viral that you're like, why did this go viral?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
We haven't had a virality moment.
Okay.
We've had a few kind of pop off on our like TikTok.
Yes, yeah.
Some of them like we have, so in our global headquarters in Brisbane, there's a slide.
Oh, cool.
So literally a slide people go down, and I think it was posted one time on TikTok.
That's awesome.
And went off. So
excitement.
I think,
that's
some
so
of those silly things on our Instagram, we haven't really had that organic viral moment. But I'm also wary of organic viral moments because, like I said earlier, it's about follower growth and your engagement growing with it. So if you get the viral moment, what did you really get from that?
Yeah.
So
you just gained a bunch of followers who are not engaging with your content because they saw one good piece. They're like, oh, I'm going to follow this brand. It's really good. And then they're going to see that it's not always these silly trends. It's actually like we're trying to bring value to you about our company, which, I feel that. That's interesting. Okay, another fun one. You're given a week off. No posts, no trends, no inbox. What are you, Christy, doing?
So am I still working?
No, no work.
Like, okay.
You're off.
So I'm the kind of person that
recharge?
rarely takes days off just to like exist in the city.
Okay.
So if I'm taking time off, I'm leaving the country.
Yeah. It makes sense. You work for a travel company.
Yes. But I've always loved travel
that's awesome.
Working for Flight Centre. Originally being from Australia, like travel has been something I've been doing for quite some time now. Amazing. So if I have a week off, again, I'm really going to take just a week off.
Yeah.
So like we're probably talking a 2-week trip. Usually I solo travel. I'm not going to lie. So I solo travel.
That's amazing.
But I meet up with friends and family in those places. So I'm getting there by myself. I'm coming home by myself.
Yeah.
I'm having my own downtime because honestly, I love when it's just my rules, my way.
Oh, love that too.
What I want to do, where I want to eat.
I get to eat what I want to eat. I don't have to eat what you want to eat. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This one, and then I think we'll be done. What is the weirdest DM that your brand has ever received? And this can be anonymous.
I don't think we really get weird ones.
Okay.
It's just because we are in the travel space, we do get a lot of like partnership, collaboration requests.
Yeah.
And some of them just don't fit.
Yeah.
Like they're not relevant to us, or they've not taken the time to like get to know us as a brand or what we're about. And I think what I find most interesting is when people aren't following us and they want to collaborate with us.
That's so funny.
So I think we haven't had anything like weird or outrageous. It's more we get like I guess cold marketing in a way where it just doesn't match the brand. Or we get a lot of spam. I'm sure a lot of companies do. But like even things where it's like, do you want to be partnered with this, I don't know, clothing brand or things where it's like, but we're in the travel industry.
Like, did you do research on us? Like you might have DM'd the wrong person. So all you cold marketers out there, do some research. And then once you realize what the brand is, maybe they'll respond. I think that's it. So thank you so much. And I hope you guys all got like a really good perspective of a social media manager that works in travel and what they do behind the scenes. Her hands are full. So she's going on a vacation though, which is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.